Hey everybody, it's Tim with the University of Vinyl. I want to thank everyone who has been commenting and liking my videos and all of the subscribers. Greatly appreciated. The more likes and subscribers that I can get, the better it is for, spreading the gospel of what I'm talking about here regarding record collecting and good pressings, bad pressings, new releases, etc. So if you Today, something entirely different. First of all, it's not today, it's tonight. I am doing a rare night shoot, and I'm trying to dial in my nighttime lighting. Hopefully it looks okay. Ran out of time earlier today due to some work commitments. But I wanted to focus today on that genre of music known as Countrypolitan. In the late 60s, moving into the early 70s, the United States was in upheaval. Nashville was changing, and there was one producer and songwriter that I wanted to kind of focus this video on, at least in the very beginning, and that's Billy Sherrill. Billy Sherrill is a legendary figure in Nashville. He was an actual Nashville outsider, and he brought some new, fresh ideas to the Nashville scene and was a huge success. I'm going to show a couple of albums from artists that he produced. Many of the albums for both of these artists. Actually, one artist is a couple, but I'm moving way ahead of myself. I'm going to read from the New York Times obit for Billy Sherrill. Billy Sherrill died 2015, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but we lost him the last 6 or 7, 8 years. Coming from outside the Nashville studio system with its entrenched approaches, Mr. Sherrill took influence from pop producers like Phil Spector, as well as from earlier country producers like Chet Atkins and Owen Bradley, who specialized in smoothing out the rough edges of the honky-tonk sound. In Mr. Sherrill's hands, the pedal steel and the fiddle were buried in the mix, replaced with lush string sections and overdubs that thickened the music and gave it a dignified veneer. Billy Sherrill is also known for using a stable of the same players on all of his albums. People like Hargus Pig Robbins on piano, Pete Drake on steel guitar, and background vocals often provided by the Jordanaires. In 1971, Billy Sherrill produced another fantastic album by his famous couple that he had under his control. Actually, I'm not sure if anyone could control that couple, but I'm talking about, of course, George Jones and Tammy Wynette. The album is We Go Together. It's on the Epic label. I love that iconic, that just screams early 1970s Nashville to me. There are 2 standout songs on the album. This is a lush Nashville recording, something that Billy Sherrill was known for. The 2 songs are After Closing Time and We Go Together. These 2, their voices were just perfect, intertwined harmonies. They knew each other pretty well. They were married at that point in 1971. I think they got married in 67. Finally divorced in 74 or 75. Topsy-turvy, love story. They would reconcile a few times and appear in concert several times, these surprise reunions. But that is George Jones and Tammy Wynette. George Jones was a functioning alcoholic at times. And some of his best music and songs came together with Tammy Wynette. Funnily enough, Billy Sherrill actually went on and produced both of these artists after their divorce, and it's quite a story in Nashville. If you have not seen the Ken Burns Nashville mega documentary series that came out in 2019 or 2020, maybe right before the pandemic, highly recommended. They dedicated an entire episode to that time period, 71 to 1980, and the changing winds in Nashville. And Billy Sherrill features prominently.
My baby makes me proud. Lord, don't she make me proud. She never makes a scene by hanging all over me in a crowd. 'Cause people like to talk. Lord, don't they love to talk.
In 1973, Billy Sherrill teamed up with kind of a middle-of-the-road, failing R&B singer named Charlie Rich, and the album was Behind Closed Doors. It basically earned Charlie Rich, I think, the Entertainer of the Year, all of the country music awards from that year. This was a huge crossover hit album. It's got 2 smash hits on it. The title track, Behind Closed Doors, a really beautiful ballad. It's got a signature piano riff by Hargus Pig Robbins to lead off the song. Charlie Rich is in fine voice. You've got the Jordanaires on here again. Real nice, tasteful singing. Strings as well are on this album. And then, of course, we get The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. Surely you know that song if you haven't heard it lately. Spin it up on Spotify or Apple Music. Give it a listen. You can tell that Billy Sherrill knew what he was doing, and this is a real lushly produced record. It sounds amazing. So did the George Jones and Tammy Wynette album, for that matter. Also on the Epic label. If you're just kind of dabbling into some country music, take a look at this period, 1970 to 1980. You've got this Countrypolitan music I'm talking about moving into basically crossover country pop. But that's 1973, Behind Closed Doors, Charlie Rich.
I apologize to anyone who can truly say that he has found a better way. Yeah. Southern nights, have you ever felt a southern night? Southern sky. Well, its precious beauty lies just beyond the eye. It goes.
In 1977, we got another album from iconic artist Glen Campbell, and that was a very, very lush production. This was an out-and-out Los Angeles production using LA session players. That is, of course, Southern Nights, Glen Campbell. The title track is probably one of the more famous Countrypolitan songs in history. It's got some fantastic banjo on it. It has orchestra on it, and it is just an iconic guitar song as well. Little known fact, or maybe it's more well known, but Glen Campbell is probably one of the greatest guitar players in history. He was part of the LA scene. He was a ghost player for the Beach Boys for years. I think he toured with the Beach Boys. for a period there when Brian Wilson wasn't touring. But he appeared on several Beach Boy albums, credited or non-credited, not sure. But this is this is a great album, and again, really lushly produced. It was mastered by Doug Sachs at the Mastering Lab. It sounds amazing. It's on the Capitol label. Highly recommended. And this is, we're moving away from Countrypolitan, almost crossing over now. This was a huge hit in 1977. In 1980, we had a blind piano player from Nashville who had been kicking around Nashville since the early 70s. Fantastic player, fantastic voice, and this guy had a ton of hits, and he doesn't get a lot of respect out there. Of course, I'm talking about Ronnie Milsap, and this greatest hits package is just kind of a showpiece for polished Nashville pop, okay? And this had, of course, a lead single on it, which was a new song thrown into the greatest hits package, Smoky Mountain Rain, one of the fantastic Nashville pop songs, one of the best I think that's ever been produced. This guy's voice is smooth as butter. If you haven't listened to Ronnie Milsap, don't be ashamed. Check out this greatest hits album if you just want a smattering. This is a fantastic place to start. Hey, thanks very much for watching. That was today's episode. Taking a look at 4 albums released between 1971 and 1980. Really kind of signifying or illustrating that Countrypolitan sound moving into pure country crossover pop. There are plenty of other artists I could have featured, but I liked these 4 albums and these artists. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a great evening. Take care.